Okay, Sunny, you're muted. You're gonna have to unmute yourself.
We did it on purpose because we were chatting.
Oh, okay.
We were just waiting for people to come in the room. Let me know when we have like 10 or so people.
We have quite a few, actually.
Yay.
Thanks for being here.
It's more than just our speakers.
Yay.
People. We have people.
You wanna do
We
it?
thought we would just speak to ourselves and then, take
Yeah.
turns.
No,
But-
we're not going to just speak to ourselves. We're going to speak.
Yeah. All right. You want intro? Or you want me to-
You can start.
Almost 2 weeks. Check it out.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Well, we're here tonight because Georgia voted blue for Biden. Ow! Yes. And now the fate of the Senate rests with them. So we want to help them keep their boots on the ground
Sunny
and raise some money to help that happen.
and
All the funds that we get tonight are going to be donated to the new Georgia
yeah, she's
Project
helping to
Action
organize
Fund.
this.
A win in Georgia is a win for all of us. So thanks for joining.
See if
And so far, I think to date we've raised over $1,700. The link is still open, so if you know anybody that's interested and wants to join in late, watch the video, do whatever, you can go ahead and send that link to them because we're going to be taking donations up until
Till the end of this event.
okay. So if we could do some live donations, that would be awesome. It'd be like one of those call-a-thons where people come in and say, hey, I'm going to give $3,000. Thank you. We'll take it and send it right to Georgia. All right, so we're going to get started with our first speaker. Unless Sonia, want to say something? Stuff?
I just want to say something really quickly. I'm super grateful for everyone who's been able to give. We have an awesome lineup of folks. Some folk were unable to make it, and as we get to their piece, we'll let you know.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and my name's Sarah Banzoff. I've done a bunch of events with Sunny before and just kind of political activism in the area of Cuyahoga Falls, Akron, Ohio. So we want to, I'm the MC for tonight, just kind of give some intros to people and they can do their piece. So our first person to speak today is going to be Barbara Kaplan. She was born and raised in New York City, where she received her BA in History and Education from the State of University of New York at Stony Brook. Then she moved to Akron and spent 32 years as a teacher with the Akron Public Schools, teaching predominantly in East Akron. When she retired, she enjoyed numerous hobbies and dabbled very lightly in politics, most notably supporting her husband's run for Ohio State legislature by distributing his literature during a hurricane. Way to go, Barbara, for that, for sure. But her life changed dramatically, as did many of ours, following the 2016 election. Once the nausea subsided, it became clear, as it did for many women, the only way forward was to become actively involved in defending progressive values. So she became one of the founding members of Crooked River Action. She spent at least part of every day taking action against the current administration. Well, only current for a little bit longer. Let's just say that. Okay. Barbara remains committed to promoting public policy, which will truly benefit the public. Please welcome Barbara Kaplan.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. I'm excited. This is my first fundraiser that I've ever done. So this was a new kind of, this was all new to me. And I literally got this idea in the shower. I mean, just maybe that's where I do my best thinking. And I reached out to Sunny and to Representative Tavia Golonsky and said, hey, what do you think of this idea? And they both like enthusiastically agreed and came on board with it. I have to tell you, unfortunately, Tavia probably will not make it tonight. At the last minute, she got an important call from apparently the governor's office, something related to her district. None of us know any more than that, but it sounded really important. And so I'm just going to extend her sincere regrets But nonetheless, we did appreciate her help in planning all of this out. Um, going kind of back to my biography a little bit, many of you do know me, and you know that since 2017, I've had this resist necklace on my neck, 24/7 really. And I am very much looking forward to taking it off January 20th. That's going to be huge for me. But the reason I was thinking so hard in the shower is I was relieved, of course, like all of us, that Joe Biden was elected. But then that's just the start. There is just so much that needs to be done, and there's so much that needs to be undone. I think an awful lot of the next 4 years will be unraveling the mess that has been created in Washington. And so much of what President-elect Biden is going to be able to do is going to rely on what happens with the 2 Senate races that are coming up in January. And so that's where the idea started, because I just didn't know, what I could do to help. I went on a phone call with the Ossoff campaign. There were like 175 volunteers there from all over the country. And it occurred to me that as much as I had done phone banking and text banking here and knew what I was talking about when I spoke to voters, I didn't know squat about Georgia. And I was very nervous about the idea of putting my energies out there in a situation where I was might do more harm than good. I was very concerned about that. And yet I also realized that there was something we could do, and maybe supporting the boots on the ground there was something that made sense to me. So that's how this whole thing came about in my brain and was shared with Tavia and with Sunny. And so here we are. The New Georgia Project is supports boots on the ground activities in terms of trying to engage new voters and to get underrepresented and underserved communities of color more engaged and active in the electoral process, getting young people registered to vote, and then seeing it through to the point where they do vote. So those were some of the reasons that we chose that particular avenue. And it is part of the whole work that Stacey Abrams has been doing down in Georgia for the last 10 years. It's nothing new to her. It's just new to a lot of us that woke up and said, oh, we need Stacey here. But it took her 10 years to get Georgia to this point of shading it blue. So, there is that. And in terms of these two, sorry, I'm admitting people, I'm kind of multi. In terms of this election, just how critical is it? Right before I opened up the Zoom room, actually there was a like just a news blast that said Ossoff warns McConnell would cause paralysis in federal government if GOP holds Senate. Of course he's running for office. Maybe that's like overly strong, but I think it's true enough. Under McConnell's leadership, this Congress has been the least productive Congress in history. He brags about it. I don't think it's something that should be bragged about. He's laughed at his legislative graveyard, and just looking at things that are sitting in that graveyard. The John Lewis Voting Rights Act, of course, the HEROES Act. There's been no more relief for COVID as it's raging across the country. The Equality Act. And speaking of an area where the Biden administration will have a lot of rebuilding to do, the attacks on the LGBTQ community over the last 4 years has been cruel and systematic and surgical in the rights that they have been stripping away from that entire community of people. Child care for economic recovery is sitting somewhere on a desk in the Senate. The NATO Support Act, multiple bills that would have lowered prescription drug prices, the Violence Against Women Act, which was just up for renewal and expired in 2018. And there seems to be no reason to get a move on that. Some bills that I don't understand why there's a problem. A House resolution bill simply condemning anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim discrimination is buried on on his desk somewhere. Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act. I guess Republicans like beating kids. I don't get it. I just don't get it. And so that list that's just a partial list, but it goes on. And, just in conclusion, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm still fighting this stuff. And I thank you all for your generosity and for joining us tonight. So Sarah, I'll turn it back to you.
Howdy, howdy. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for putting this together. When she reached out to me, she originally said she wanted to do something to help raise funds for the folk in Georgia. She wanted to do something to support grassroots organizers. And I had already had this thought, so it was super important that we do that. I want to reiterate that all of the money is going to a particular group, and the work that they do is specifically directed at supporting people who are knocking on doors, supporting people who will be at the polls, to encourage people to show up and show out. So I'm just really grateful that Ohio is at this point sending, what was it last time we checked? $2,500.
Now it's up to 25. We were at 1,700 like an hour ago.
$2,500 to say, give us back. Not only will we get our people's house, not only will we get our White House back, but we want the Senate.
We want it all.
We want the Senate. We want to be able to change policy. And we want to be able to do that through some great candidates. I don't know how much you guys know about the candidates that are running, but they are tremendously powerful. And I know they're going to show up and show out. So I am so grateful for all of you who are here, all of you who donated, all of you who encouraged your friends to donate. I saw all the shares. At last count, I think we were shared 1,500 times across the state of Ohio. So not only are we raising money, but we're raising awareness. One of the things I wanted to say when I talked to Barb about doing this event is I wanted to make sure that we were aware of the fact that the work of getting President, I'm so excited, President Biden elected is not the end of our work. We still have to continue to show up and show out. And so a lot of the folk we're going to hear from today are people who are going to do that work for us. One of them, Casey Weinstein, proudly serves as the state representative of Ohio 37 House District. In Casey's family, public service is a way of life. His grandfather, father, brother, brother-in-law, and wife all served or are serving in the armed services. He has always strived to actively engage in his community. What I love about him is that he's real, he's raw, and he's here. I don't know how, if he's, I don't think we've ever actually met. We are Facebook friends. Hey.
Hi, Sunny.
And you shared a post about your family being attacked while you guys were out, I think at a picnic or something. And what was humbling to me and so motivating to me about your post is it didn't say, and for this reason I quit. And it didn't say, and for this reason I leave. It said, we have to do better. And I am so proud that you are doing this work. Please tell us more.
Oh man, that was a power intro. Thank you. It's awesome to be here. I want to thank this group first because showing up matters. I could share 3 things that I know. Showing up first matters. And that is the folks, the 0.1% who consistently are able to and do show up put their time, put their treasure, put their energy behind campaigns. Those are the difference makers. A lot of races are decided on the margins, and the margins are hard to move, and it requires a lot of energy, and groups like this and people like you are the movers on the margins. I mean, seriously, I would not be in office without groups like this. I have a little bit of a similar situation in a smaller scale, of course, that to so hopefully future Senators Warnock and Ossoff. I'm in a red tinted district here in Northeast Ohio that has been was Republican for 8 years. Actually, as long as it's existed in its current gerrymandered form, it's been Republican, but we were able to flip this seat to Democratic hands in 2018 and then defend it in 2020 and keep it in Democratic hands. And as a candidate from a red tinted district, I can tell you it's groups like Crooked River, and it's people who are willing to, again, put their time and treasure and energy behind great candidates who make the difference. And I mean, I am very much living proof of that. Would not be in office without committed, progressive people willing to step up. So thank you for that. And the other thing I can talk about is being in the minority, which I was in my first term and will be in this next term. And that is not the way to get a real progressive agenda passed, right? That's kind of obvious, but we were able to get some things done, thanks to leaders like Amelia Sykes and Tavia too. We were able to get things done, but really, we do not want to be in the minority in the Senate. That's a recipe. But what we passed as prologue, we know exactly what Mitch McConnell will do, which is essentially paralyze the Biden administration to the maximum extent that he can, and do whatever he can to prevent any sort of progress from being done, or being made. So we have this opportunity right now, a real opportunity to get ourselves into the majority and able to pave a pathway for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to not only undo, I think Barbara said it well, not just undo what Trump did, but start getting some of our progressive, prerogatives done and passed into law. So that's the opportunity we have now. I've been following John Ossoff since he ran in that special election. I think that was 2017 or 2018. He was one of the first special elections in Congress, and did a phenomenal job in that race. And he is a terrific candidate. And Warnock, Reverend Warnock is just like, the guy's spectacular, just pops off the screen. I mean, the guy's incredible. That's the energy. Every time I see them, I think how badly I want to see them in the Senate. They'll be such fighters. They'll punch above their weight, especially coming from Georgia, where we really have a pathway to get this done. So again, very happy to be here tonight. If anybody has any questions at all, I'm happy to answer those, but I also want to make time for the next speaker. But thank you for putting your energy behind this. I will too. I've been contributing down in the Senate in the Senate races there. I'll continue to do it. In Stacey Abrams, I trust. She knows what to do. She's our guide, and we're going to get this done. I'm feeling it. So thank you all so much for having me, and it's great to see your smiling faces. I feel the energy even through Zoom here.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate your service. One thing that I always want to point out is that it's important for local folk to show up. If any of you are interested in running, reach out. I always want to connect people, support people. I do, in case you should know this too, if people ever have fundraisers and need somebody to hype up the crowd, I'm there.
She's your hype girl. She's your hype girl.
Anything I can do to spread the word, to get more of us, get more of Ohio folk in the door, I am all about it. And so I appreciate the work you do. Congratulations on being elected again. And I look forward to seeing some of the great work that you do.
Thank you.
Thanks. So up next, we're going to hear from Judy Hill. Judy is retired from Akron Public Schools with 32 years of experience. She was elected president of the Akron NAACP in 2014 and continues to serve in that role. Here's what's powerful about Judy. Judy has a way about her that brings people into this work where they feel important and inspired. When I met Judy, I just recognized how powerful she was without her saying a word. Without her saying a word. And what was interesting is the most recent time we ran into each other, Judy was transporting somebody to vote personally in her car, taking an elderly person to the polls. And she told me then, she's like, I don't care who they vote for, they deserve the right to vote. They deserve to vote, and I'm gonna make sure they get that space. And it was an older white man, and she dropped him off and waited for him to get his vote on and took him back and picked somebody else up. If that isn't grassroots, I don't know what is. And so I am so thankful to have her here to share just a little bit about what she does, what the NAACP does, and also how Ohio is going to turn blue, because we will.
Good luck with that piece. We're working on that one. First, I do want to say, Barb and Tavia, thank you for inviting me to participate in this. Anytime we want to do something that A, is for someone else and not ourselves, I'm in. B, when 100% of whatever we're doing is going towards a wonderful, worthy cause, I'm in. But the other thing I've recognized, especially these last couple of years, being president of the Akron NAACP, is that it is the collective collaboration of hardworking individuals who are all like-minded in an area. You don't have to agree on everything. Barb and I have worked together for years in the Akron Public Schools. And I don't even think it was until we got around politics that we had more of a conversation, because it was focused on the work. But we as a collective, and I don't want us to ever forget that, it's bodies like this of individuals and organizations and representatives who help secure that presidential win. If we can do it on a presidential level, you're damn sure we can do it in the Senate races in Georgia. So the NAACP, and you know, I appreciate Sunny sharing that. I forgot about that. We were committed to making sure that everybody had the right to exercise their right to vote. Whether you do it or not is up to you. But we registered voters with a collective that we put together called Akron Votes 2020. And Crooked River was a part of that. And it was, oh gosh, 20, 30 organizations who said, we all are committed in this. We didn't talk about issues. We talked about making sure that people were registered and got good information. And we made sure they got to the polls. That was the goal. Simple, sweet. Was it easy? Nope. But it was real work, and it was awesome to work with people who I just hadn't had a chance to see in so often because we get caught up in our own little worlds. But the NAACP is committed to the political, educational, social, and economic rights of all persons, and we stick to the mission. I know there are so many people who want me to get sidetracked and do other things, but staying true to the mission at the time is what's critical. And that's why this is so important. The Akron NAACP, along with the national organization, recognize how critical this Georgia race is. Both of these Senate seats, we need them. We need the work that is happening. We are sending people to Georgia from across the country, number one. Number two, we've spent millions of dollars to ensure that people have that right to vote and they are engaged. We saw some apathy here in Ohio. I still think people don't believe in the process, and we have to stay engaged. So I agree. The work is really just beginning. We registered a lot of voters. We got them to the polls, but I think more than that, we have to stay engaged throughout to help them understand why they're important. So we're now trying to develop a tool, a way to stay engaged with all of those people that we help register to vote. It's going to be a task. I don't know how we're going to finish it, but if it's in writing, email, Facebook, we want to keep them connected to a source that they can trust, because that was the other thing. there were so many things that kept happening and they didn't know who to trust or what to trust anymore. So I'm all in. I'll send my donation, but I think it's important for all of us to just stay focused. The presidential win was a win, but it was also, in Ohio especially, it helped me see how disconnected people really are politically. My neighbors, for the first time, I saw signs that I had not seen before. It didn't stop any of us. Matter of fact, my Black Lives Matter sign was stolen, but that's okay. I'll work on that. I'll say it blew off. It blew away. That's my answer, because I don't want to believe that somebody walked up to my steps and took my sign. The other one's in my window, so they'd have to bust my window to get it. There will be no excuses there. But bottom line, we have work to do. And I just hope that we can all stay engaged and stay focused on what's important. We all knew that that nut had to go. And mind you, we are more about the process than the people. But he was very clear on his message. And it had nothing to do with women. It had nothing to do with African Americans. It had nothing to do with the LGBTQ community. It only had to do with his base. But we see in Ohio, his base is strong. So some way we got to connect with them folks and figure out how we can find some common ground. I definitely believe that the financial implications will be important, because most of the people I know who supported him said, oh, my 401k. And I thought, God, if I hear that one more time. So it's just about your 401k. It's not about the people that he's disenfranchising or how he's separated this country in a way that we've never seen. But in honesty, he didn't do that. He just brought it to the surface. And so I guess I really want to thank him for that. Don't tell people I'm thanking him for any damn thing, but I am thanking him for that, because that's an opportunity for us to look at how we can move the needle in Ohio. So folks, stay engaged, stay a part of the process. Don't give up. We got to be in here for the long haul. So roll up your sleeves. Thank you for asking me to be a part of it tonight.
Oh, Judy, thank you. It's always good to see you, my friend. I will tell you that, and I have not had a chance because my group has not had a meeting since the election. But back in January, there was a group that, out of Columbus that estimated that we needed to have it like I think it was a 20% shift per county in votes from 2016 to 2020 in order to flip Ohio blue. And I had the number for Summit County of 15,900 votes. That's how many more votes we needed to get in excess of what Clinton won. And I want you to know we came within 1,000. I haven't looked at the final numbers, but the preliminary numbers, we came within 1,000 of that goal, which is pretty huge. So, do not discount the work that Akron Votes 2020 did, that we did as part of that, or even separately. We worked and we did a lot. And it's hard because we can't be responsible for Athens County or, wherever. We can't be, while the conversations have to be held everywhere, we can't be everywhere. So, we can own the work that we did. And that's a pretty hard number I just gave you.
Yeah. And I appreciate that update, because as I said, I'm a firm believer that it's the collective collaborative that made the difference. It's that people brought their expertise, and we really, all of us were boots on the ground. That is awesome. And that's what this is about, making sure that in Georgia, boots on the ground, financially, manpower, phone banking, the whole thing. So yeah, I'm excited about the possibilities.
Okay, Sarah.
All right, just a quick update as we're going live here. We have over 63 people that have donated tonight, and we are getting close to the $3,000 mark. So awesome. Keep sharing away, keep talking it up. We're continuing to collect throughout this presentation. So, okay, onward. We are now going to switch it up a little bit from the speakers to the songwriters. We are going to listen to award-winning singer and songwriter Angie Hayes. She's a humanitarian whose driving force is to help the world find solace, value, unity, and a safe haven through the power of art. She has arranged and produced a collection of musically diverse, soul-deep songs. The uplifting message of her story never fails to inspire hope and change. She shares her art as a way to connect people, proving the importance of music for the individual and humanity as a whole. Please welcome the wonderful Angie Hayes.
Thank you so much. Okay, this first song is called Seized at Night. Mother of exiles beneath her weaves, thousands of babies lost by ICE. Today she's uneasy with her torch and robe that represent freedom for a home. Rallied in hatred, her people stand. Some have forgotten this stolen land, built on the backs of brutality. Disgrace was purchased for the free. Oh, Lady Liberty, what do you do? How can you stand there when they're mocking you? The weary and tired who seek your light arrive by day to be seized at night. Will we all turn to statues? Will we watch evil in silence? Will we bury the hatchet underneath all of the lives that our dollar has slain? Oh, Lady Liberty, what do you do? How can you stand there when they're mocking you? The weary and tired who seek your light arrive by day to be seized at night. 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 Mother exiles beneath her weaves. Thank you. Val, thank you so much. I'm going to switch to
to piano next here. Thank you guys. Thank you. It's really, truly, I'm so honored to be a part of this truly great cause. So, and I'm glad that we're continuing to raise funds. So that's fantastic. All right. So I'm going to do a song on piano here. This is called For Our Daughters and Sons. My voice has been lost while my neighbor feared fate. And I don't trust the boss. He never carried his weight. But I won't lie down. I won't look away. It's our duty to act and to fight for the sake of this place. I will make my voice loud, even if it's lost in the crowd. For we are as strong as each sound. For the people we love and the earth that we touch, we are one. So I'll act and I'll choose. I will stand for our daughters and sons. For the birds and the earth, so ignored and denied. For the offspring we birth, give purpose to life. Even if we lose, how can we not try? When a chance to make change and to grow is always worth that price. I will make my voice loud, even if it's lost in the crowd. For we are as strong as each sound. For the people we love and the earth that we touch, we are one. So I'll act and I'll choose. I will stand for our daughters and sons. Look in their eyes, don't you dare hide. Your silence will scream louder than your lies. Find strength for their sake. Hope is a gift. It's how we survive. I will make my voice loud, even if it's lost in the crowd. For we are as strong as each sound. For the people we love and the earth that we touch, we are one. So I'll act and I'll choose. I will stand for our daughters and sons. I will act and I'll choose. I will stand for our daughters and sons. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So I have one more for you. It's called I Am, You Are, We Are Enough. And I just truly believe, and I say this all the time, but it must start within. It must start within and start with I am, so I can see that you are and believe that we are enough. And that's what we're fighting for always, right?
My heart beats, yours beats too. The sky can see our truth. I breathe and so do you. This ground still holds our youth. I have been unseen. You have been unheard. Some still have not spoken, but we all have been broken. If I breathe and feel enough, will you be and believe enough? If I cry and laugh enough, will you love enough? If I breathe and feel enough, will you be and believe enough? If I cry and laugh enough, will you love enough? 'Cause I am, you are, we are enough.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I am so grateful for her. I am so grateful for her. I always have her hear her voice. I always hear her love to hear from her. We're going to have a few more speakers, then we've got a couple more performers. So the next speaker is going to be Kristen Krantz. She's a family medicine specialist practicing in Medina. She is very interested in focusing on the social determinants of health and to make her patients' lives better. I am so grateful for her because she stepped in at the last minute. We lost a few folks and she agreed to speak. She's been doing some great work in Medina. So I want to celebrate her work and bring her on board.
Thanks, Sunny. And yeah, I'm glad to be here. I was up at 9 a.m. giving a talk to a group up in Cleveland, Spark, about Medicare for All. And this is a challenge to follow all these people who stole a lot of my lines, like showing up matters and this collective collaboration. But that's awesome. And I'm just going to riff a little bit because I'm tired of writing things down. So following Angie is incredible. I mean, we all miss music and live music, and that felt so powerful and so good to be together. I miss dancing. I miss gathering together and laughing with people. And for those of us who have been doing the activism, it can be lonely work. And I think we always know that we garner strength from each other. And it's like giving a hug. When you give one, you get one. And so we know that the work that we do, whatever level of activism you bring to the party, whether it's donations or postcard writing or knocking on doors or calling your representatives, you know that that does good things for you too. If you remember, I think there's a couple people that might need to mute. Anyway, if you remember Adi Barakin, who is a longtime activist, and he wrote the book Eyes to the Wind, and he is literally dying of ALS. He wrote this quote, and it's through our collective.
Kristen, there we go. Sorry.
Am I okay to keep going?
You are. Sorry, my fault.
That's okay. So Adi Barkin, it was through our collective struggle that I began to realize that I could find my personal liberation. I started becoming an activist in 2015. And I'd like to tell my story just a little bit because I think we learn from each other. And I think it is in the telling of our stories that we find our unity and we find our strength. So yes, I'm a family physician. And of course, the work that I do with my patients and my desire to help people have their best lives, be their healthiest, but also understanding in depth where they're coming from. That work translates so well to the work of social justice that I found myself called to. But it's really in my motherhood that I think I find my deepest motivation. So I'm a mother of 4, and one of my children is on the autism spectrum. And of course, everyone knows we're all different, but as we have these moments to understand our diversity and then realize that we have to appreciate the gifts that come with our diversity. And at the same time, understand that people have different levels of needs and that we have to support those needs so that everybody can not just live or survive, but thrive. And I think that that's where I find my deepest motivation is understanding that not everyone is dealt the same deck and that people need support. And I think we all, as humans, have certain rights and we need to have those satisfied. And we're not doing a very good job of it right now. So I think, again, part of what I want all of you to do is think about where you're coming from. Why are you here? And number one, thank you for being here, but think deep about where you get your motivation to do the work. Because not only do we get our strength from each other, but you know that there are times when you have to dig deep and find the strength within yourself to do the work. So I think sometimes as you dig down to say, why is this important to me? Is it because I'm a cancer survivor or because I lost someone in a war? What is the motivation that brings you to do the work? And as you work to dive deep within yourself to learn about where that comes from, you get more strength in order to do the work. And again, then you lean on each other in order to garner even more strength through that. Think too about, as you give those hugs to people, where is it that you have found the most pride in the work that you have done? When you did something good for someone, when you delivered Meals on Wheels, when you knocked on 100 doors, when you did all the phone banking. And again, you'll find that strength as you analyze the good that you've done. I think as we look at our own circles of empathy and we have to figure out how to talk to people, not only do you need to know where you're coming from, but one of my biggest struggles is learning to listen to others. What are their needs and where are they coming from? And how can I nurture within them that seed of empathy that they have? Because we need to get everybody on board because we really are unified in our needs and our struggles that we have. I am here in part, and I do the work because I know that we should love and care for each other. I believe that we must fight for our rights, and the intersectionality is at the crux of our struggles. All issues of social justice are intersectional, and you can't separate these fights, whether it be for racial justice, economic justice, criminal justice, environmental justice, gender and equality, sorry. They're all intertwined. And in that same way, we have to realize that all our struggles as people are intertwined. Just as in a family, if one person struggles, the entire family is going to be struggling. And if one succeeds, we all feel that success. So we have to extrapolate that feeling from in our families to our communities, to our nation, and yes, to our world. So we all know that we have to have our basic rights satisfied. And if we don't, we will never achieve success as a nation or as a world. And our success should not be measured by dollar or growth, but by satisfying the basic needs of all. And these basic needs are not earned, but they're deserved simply because people are human. And it's in our humanity that we must find our unity. When one rises, we all rise. When one falls, we all fall. And we know that we're all in this together. And that's why we're here today. So it's really awesome. So humbly, I will also tell you that make sure you do whatever self-care you need. We can't be all things to all people. So you have to pick your battles and follow through in that way. So one of the things I found myself motivated to do is write poetry. Now, again, humbly following Angie Hayes, I'm just going to share one of my poems. And sometimes for me, the words just are there and they have to come out. And it sometimes helps me vent some of the anger and frustration that I really don't want to have in my life. And so other times it's helps me try to garner different levels of strength. So I'll just share with you one of my poems, and again, with humble nature. This is called My Family. You are my family. We are in this together. I love you. You are my aging parents, a veteran, a volunteer, social advocate, humanitarian, in pain, on medication, with illness, with cancer, in debt, lonely, afraid. You are my children who are gifted, talented, disabled, autistic, in school, working hard, dreaming big, working a gig economy, unemployed, in debt, depressed, anxious, in love, hopeful. You are me, a parent, a spouse, a sister, a daughter, a worker, a caregiver, overwhelmed, overworked, underpaid, tired, enraged, engaged, empowered, committed. We are family. We have purpose. We will take care of each other. We will take care of ourselves. We are brave. We are right. We are love. Thanks.
I can't thank you enough, ladies, for you to show up in like last minute and then whip out that. Like I literally texted you, what, 30 minutes ago? I'm so grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Morgan Farrell. She's a passionate organizer and political researcher. She's a two-time University of Akron graduate, earning her Bachelor of Science degree in Political Science and Criminal Justice in 2018, with minors in law enforcement and pre-law. As a graduate student, the majority of Morgan's research focused on criminal justice issues. Get this, her master's thesis, President Trump's play on criminal justice policy, was accepted into an academic conference with a chance of publication. Most recently, Morgan was an organizer in Summit County for Ohio coordinated campaign to elect Joe Biden and Democrats up and down the ballot. Morgan described her experience as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. After the campaign, she has been volunteering for Fair Fight Action in Georgia weekly. Morgan is hoping to take what she has learned through her experiences and fiercely fight for the advancement of equality, fairness, and freedom, especially for those in the criminal justice system. Please welcome Morgan Farrell.
Hi, everyone. I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces from my campaign days. I haven't opened up Zoom since the week of the election, so it is nice to see everyone again. And it's heartwarming to me to see those individuals who fought for the Biden campaign here in Ohio. We're transferring that energy and we're focusing it on Georgia, where this election could very much so plan our next 50 to even 100 years, I was reading. So that is terrifying with the advancement of, President-elect Joe Biden. It is a great thing, but we don't, it's been echoed before, we don't want to be in a standstill in the Senate. We have work to do. It's work that needs to be done and that no one can be in our way. I'm just ready to bulldoze all these Republicans out of office come midterms and after that, but it is great to see everyone here. And when I was asked to speak at this, I was really thankful for it. The weeks after the election, I spent wondering what we could have done different in Ohio, what would have made the difference for us. It's been echoed before, like those connections to those voters and finding those inroads with them and talking to them about what issues we need to get them onto our side. But that's one thing that I think that we're doing right in Georgia. We have boots on the ground. We have people like the New Georgia Fund. They're going to go door to door. They're meeting voters where they're at. And then through my experience, our campaign was 100% virtual, and we had like 1,000 volunteers a day towards the end. We were texting voters, calling them, but the problem arises when we're calling and texting the same voters again and again. They've already voted, they've already have their plan in place. And the only thing is too, we're only reaching out to those registered voters. So I think that's why it's imperative that we are donating money to the New Georgia Project, because they're meeting voters where they're at. And particularly, I kind of pulled this off of their website, but we know that the population is growing in Georgia and it's very diverse. Specifically, the New Georgia Fund is focusing on registering people of color, individuals 18 to 29, and interestingly, unmarried women too. So those are key voting blocks, I think, for the Democratic Party moving forward, focusing in on those demographics, getting those people registered, and not only that, but meeting them where they're at. And particularly the New Georgia Fund, they have registered 500,000 voters, which is absolutely amazing. And that we know, especially in this race, it's so close, we pay attention to it and we're donating that money because we've seen Georgia, they're victims of voter suppression. The precinct closures, they have a reduction in early voting hours, and these are disproportionately affecting communities of color, especially their exact match voting registration system that purges millions of voters off the rolls each year. So that is why it's important that the New Georgia Fund is there. Every voter that they try to kick off the rolls, we're there to register the next one to put them right back on, tit for tat. But I think that's why it's so important that we keep fighting. I've volunteered for a Fair Fight Action weekly, and I can tell you that all eyes are on these races. They, like I said, in Ohio, we would have like 1,000 people a day, but Georgia, they have 5,000 people in just one session. From like, my text bank sessions are like 9 to 11. So 5,000 people just in that session, 5,000 plus the next and the next. So there's thousands of people that are volunteering. They are running out of text messages within 5 minutes. We're getting all the work done with literally within 5 minutes of sitting down in a session. And again, we're only focusing on those voters where we have that data on them and that they're a registered voter already. So that's what makes these donations so much more special, is we're reaching those individuals that we need to. So I would say, if you are interested in volunteering, check out the New Georgia Fund, see what they have to offer. Fair Fight Action is also phenomenal. They will need help with phone bankers, but if you are unable to volunteer in those ways, definitely the money can go a long way. But thank you everyone for having me.
Thank you so much, Morgan.
Thank you, Morgan. It's always good to see you. We spend so much time back and forth on texting. She's like part of my family.
Oh, I love it.
True grassroots then. All right, our next speaker today is an author. Her name is Kathy Hayes. She's the author of Dear Oval Office Occupant, Letters to the White House in the Age of Trump, a collection of more than 500 of her daily letters of protest to the president. In 2017, Kathy co-founded a small grassroots group that encouraged local communities to adopt tolerance resolutions. The Akron Beacon Journal and the Cleveland Plain Dealer have featured her for her activism and letters to the White House. In addition to a presidential correspondence, she frequently writes letters, postcards, and thank you notes to other elected officials, political appointees, and public figures. Her civically engaged family and a childhood full of lively dinner table discussions about politics and current events are the foundation for her stubborn quest to hold the president accountable. Kathy has 2 grown children and lives in Ohio with her husband, a boisterous dog, 2 cats, and an unreasonably large number of books she hopes to read someday. Please welcome Kathy Hayes.
Thank you so much for inviting me today. I really am grateful to be a part of this. It's just so inspiring to see so much enthusiasm and engagement. It just, I don't know, it just fills me with hope. It's just wonderful. So I started writing to the 45th president, actually when he was the president-elect. I wrote my first letter to him on December 1st, 2016. And I just couldn't seem to stop. And I wasn't quite sure why I was doing it all the time because it seemed rather pointless. I knew that he wasn't going to read my letters, and it became clear kind of early on that nobody was really paying attention in the mailroom either. But I kept on, and I realized I was really holding myself accountable. I wasn't holding the president accountable. I was holding myself accountable because I forced myself every single day to pay attention to what was going on. And think about it and decide if there was something I could do about it. And one of the things that just kept coming up again and again and again for me was the strange area of competence. So much of this administration was terribly incompetent, but his strange, very competent ability to be horribly cruel to immigrants. And he had Stephen Miller whispering in his ear all the time, orchestrating all this. And that man is just hateful, absolutely hateful. And it was just absolutely sickening, disheartening to see this, whether asylum seekers, refugees, dreamers, other immigrants, the administration just was very, very effective at doing the worst possible thing to all these folks. And of course, the worst of the worst was the separating kids from, babies from their parents. So the good news about a Biden presidency is that he can actually undo a lot of this pretty much by himself. And there are a lot of things that are policies that he can fix. However, there are some things that are extremely important for Congress to be involved, for them to be fixed. And this is what I'm focusing on myself. This is what motivates me when it comes to flipping the Senate. First of all, the obvious one is the Dreamers. Without Congress, this can't be fixed. I mean, Joe Biden can say, stop deporting these folks, but if another Republican gets in, we're back to where we were. So with Mitch McConnell at the helm, this won't get fixed, and all those people will be left in this horrible legal limbo. Also, there are millions of other undocumented immigrants who, there really should be a path for citizenship for them. And, that's the thing that Congress has to do. Joe Biden can't fix that on his own. In another area that really is crucial for the Senate to, the Senate to flip, that we need Congress for, is ICE. In the early days, I heard people talking about abolishing ICE, and I thought, I wonder if that's really needed. I wonder if it can be fixed. Well, I don't think it can be fixed. I think it's beyond repair. The cruelty is baked in. And every year, Congress hands over billions and billions of dollars to ICE to, basically torture people, lock people up in inhumane conditions, and just do horrible things all in our name. So to get rid of ICE, or at least make it somewhat less powerful, we need Congress on board. Congress has to close the purse for ICE and to fix this. So the last thing that I really think about in regards to immigration and Congress is accountability. This administration has committed crimes against humanity, crimes against individuals, crimes, just collectively, horrible things have been done by this administration. The child separation policy is not child separation, that's kidnapping. And without, with Mitch McConnell leading the way, we are not going to have the accountability that is required for this situation. It's, there's a lot of power. Whoever is the Senate Majority Leader holds a lot of latitude for deciding what things are going to happen and what things aren't going to happen. So those are kind of my biggies. I mean, there's just so much about why the Senate needs to flip. There's just so many reasons, but these are the things that I keep coming back to that really speak to me. So I think that's, if you're going out there and talking to other people and trying to get them to help get involved with the flipping the Senate, in the Georgia campaigns, this is something that I think a lot of people, it resonates with them. I mean, particularly the child separation policy and accountability for that. So those are just my thoughts on this. And I just want to thank everyone else who spoke. It's so wonderful to hear all these different angles, how people are coming at this from different angles, different things speak to them, from a medical standpoint, LGBTQ rights, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you everyone for everything you're doing. I hope I added something to this conversation. I look forward to having a Democrat leading the Senate soon. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. It was good to see you. And if you get the Beacon Journal or you look online, the review of her book, her publication of at least some of her 500 letters to the fool who's leaving the White House just came out. So if you know a good Democrat, there's a Christmas gift right there. So
hey, thanks, Barb. And actually, I wrote more than 1,400 letters because I did write it every day.
Oh
but
my
the book, we didn't want to bore anyone to death, so the book has about 500. So.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misspoke that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Nobody wants to read that much.
That's a lot of emotion that got poured into that. But congratulations on the publication.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Can't wait to read your book. Our next speaker is Gwen Stembridge. Gwen comes to this work through a passion for bringing people together across barriers. Reared in an LGBTQ affirming service valuing faith community in Atlanta, she was compelled to serve as a fellow in the Interfaith Youth Corps, the Episcopal Service Corps, and as an Ohio Campus Compact AmeriCorps Vista. Since moving to Cleveland in 2011, Ohio is happy to have you, by the way. She has worked with organizations such as Greater Cleveland Congregations, Trinity Cathedral, the Center for Arts-Inspired Learning, and Near West Theater. She served most recently as Director of Programs for the Lorain County Volunteer Connection, an innovative partnership between Hands-On Northeast Ohio and the United Way of Greater Lorain County to connect passionate residents with opportunities to positively impact systems of education, health, and financial stability. Through this position at Equality Ohio, she is thrilled with the opportunity to leverage her skills and passions to advance the understanding, acceptance, and human rights of the LGBTQ community. She values the power of both hospitality and the arts as vehicles for working with and learning about people. Take it away, Gwen.
Thank you so much. Good evening, you all. It's great to see you. Thanks so much for being here, for hanging out. So my name's Gwen Stembridge. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm here with two hats tonight. One is as the statewide civic engagement director with Equality Ohio, our statewide LGBTQ education and advocacy organization. I had this background flag for earlier things this week, and I said, why not? We're just going to keep all of the rainbows and all of the colors, and not even think about what the weather report says is supposed to happen tomorrow. We're just going to not even think about that. But I'm so glad. So that's one of the hats I'm wearing. The other is this being an Ohio transplant from Georgia. So one of the, I guess there's two things that I was thinking about as we come together tonight. And when I think about this fight that Georgia is facing, I guess the first thing I think about is my family, who is in Georgia, and kind of what they're facing and what's going on there. And the other thing I think about is the Peachtree Road Race, which might not mean anything to folks who are in Ohio, but I had to bust out my t-shirt here. This is a Peachtree Road Race t-shirt. It says, "Meet me on Peachtree." And then it has all these names of all of these, oh, you're not going to see it now. All these names of all of the streets that are called Peachtree, that have Peachtree in the name in the Atlanta area. And this shirt comes from, it's the Peachtree Road Race is an annual race where some wild and crazy folks on the 4th of July in, a super hot state decide, hey, we're going to run a 10K. Why not? And with, of course, like, I don't know, when I was running it, when I lived in Atlanta, it was like, 10,000 of your closest neighbors. So you're wondering, like, what does this have to do, right, with all of this? And there's a metaphor here definitely about, like, it's a marathon, not a sprint. The Peachtree Road Race is a 5K, or I'm sorry, it's a 10K, so it's like 6.3 miles or so. For folks who are runners, you're like, yeah, all right, that's a good race, right? And everybody else is like, oh, I would never. But there's a particular thing about the route. So it's the route is basically the same every year. Starts at Lenox Square, ends at Piedmont Park. And there's this one hill that you go up, and it's very fondly called Heart Attack Hill. And it gets that name for two reasons. One, because if you have not trained for the Peachtree Road Race, you might not make it up that hill. You might have a heart attack on your way up that hill because it's a really steep hill as you're running, and it's toward the end, so you're exhausted already and all that stuff. The other reason it gets that name is because it's right next to Piedmont Hospital, and it's actually the best place on the race route to have a heart attack if you need to, because the hospital's right there. There's a lot of folks who get really excited about the Peachtree Road Race, and they're like, oh, it's this cool thing, I get a cool t-shirt, and like, woo, this is great. And they don't train at all for it. And they just show up the day of the race, and they're like, yeah, cool, July, it's in the 90s, it's humid as all get out. And they're like, yeah, I'm gonna run 6.3 miles. It's cool, I didn't train. Maybe I'll, have some beers at breakfast with my friends, and then we're going to go run this race. Fun. So they get wild and crazy with it. And that is not the way to run a race. So here's where the analogy comes in, right? You've heard the civic engagement is a marathon, not a sprint analogy before. I'm sure, I hope you have by now. But I'm going to take that just like a step further and talk about the fact that we have to train for these things. Like, we can't just show up the day of and vote and be study real quick the night before, right? This is not something you can cram for. You can't cram for running a race like that. You have to be prepared from the beginning. And so the folks that are really good at the Peachtree Road Race, they'll take a day off on July 5th to rest. And then they're back up going for a run on July 6th, right? They're engaged in this year round. And so that's what we're doing right here, right now, in Ohio, and in our support for Georgia, is we took that rest day because we had to celebrate, right? It was exciting. But we're getting back out there. And that's what we've got to do to be successful. Because I moved from a state that I thought was never going to be a purple state to what I thought was a purple state. And it turns out I actually moved away from a purple state and to a red state. So I'm learning all kinds of things. But I want to move us. I want to move us back there. The other piece that I come with today is that I'm a member of the LGBTQ community. I'm a queer woman, a lesbian, and comfortable with any of those terms. And I'm super aware of what is at stake in this election. So it's not just our basic rights to exist as our authentic selves, our bodily autonomy, our freedom from state-funded and sanctioned violence, and all of those things. But there's a lot of things at stake, and you wouldn't be here if you didn't know what's at stake, so I don't need to preach that to you. But I will say that I grew up in the Metro Atlanta area, was pretty sheltered from any anti-LGBTQ sentiment, and I definitely associated that with more rural areas. But I have learned some lessons, and it's really tempting as progressives to focus on the low-hanging fruit or the easy gets, right? We know these folks in urban areas are going to be more likely to support us. And yes, Metro Atlanta has absolutely been a strong force, and we would not be where we are now with Georgia if it were not for Atlanta, that's for sure. But we would also not be there if it weren't for the rural areas that also are becoming more progressive. And I think one of the reasons they're becoming more progressive is because these issues are becoming more relevant to people's lives. So I'll give an example. I think about my in-laws. So I got married this past year, and my wife grew up in a small town in South Georgia called Moultrie. And her parents there are fairly progressive, but the community around there is not at all. They have 5 kids, 2 daughters. One turned out to be gay and married me. The other one recently came out as transgender. And they even as progressive folks, they're figuring out what that means. They're figuring out how to best be there and support all of their kids, but these 2 daughters that are part of the LGBTQ community. And those issues are becoming real to them. Those issues are also becoming real to other folks within their community, right? There's a ripple effect that, like, that becomes real and becomes something you can no longer politely not talk about, right? Which is a thing that we love to do as Southerners, is just to politely, like, oh, well, bless your heart, and we're not going to deal with that. And so it becomes real, and it becomes really something we have to talk about. And we have the same thing here in Ohio. It's really easy to look at Cleveland and to look at, Cuyahoga County and Columbus and these bigger urban centers and just say, that's where we're going to focus. That's what's easiest. But the places, Ohio's population is largely rural, and so we've got to have those conversations in those rural areas and make these issues real. Not overlook and assume that folks are not going to be progressive in those areas, but really look at and get to know what is important to those voters as well in Ohio, so that we don't show up next year to the Peachtree Road Race / the polls or wherever and say, oh, I wish I had trained. I guess I'll just wing it. Right? We have to stay engaged in this long term because it's not something we can cram for. So those are the nuggets that stick with me in this moment. And to make this even more real for Ohio, I have so there's the ask to donate for sure, and so I did, and please do that because our money is going to be actually way more valuable than our text messages or our phone calls right now. I was on the phone with my aunt on Thanksgiving, and she said she gets about 5 texts a day and many, many phone calls, so that's great. And you can also do this work in Ohio, and so I've got a phone number for you I'm going to put in the chat. Our House Speaker, Bob Cupp, has the potential to move forward the Ohio Fairness Act, which would add sexual orientation and gender identity to all the areas of protected non-discrimination code in Ohio. This is the most progress that we have seen on this bill. There's over 1,000 businesses that are in support. We've got bipartisan support, and we had a hearing the week before Thanksgiving in lame duck. So it's moving. I'm going to put his phone number there along with a little brief for you to make a phone call there. So tonight is about Georgia, but if you can squeeze one more thing in, and I'm hoping, Sunny, I'm just like assuming I can just make that little plug there as well, because she's down for the cause always. So I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be with you all tonight, and I'll see you out going for a run tomorrow morning with the snow, right? Or I'll see you at the next event. Thanks so much.
Okay. Thank you, Gwen. And yes, there is time. Lame duck is upon us, and certainly the Ohio Fairness Act is something that this group has focused on in the past. I'm sure we will again, and I will be following up with that before we close this meeting, actually. So thank you. Sarah?
All right, next we're going to hear from Zach, but before we do, I want just to give a shout out and an update for our numbers. Right now we have 72 people that have donated, and we have over $3,300 now coming. And also they have closed us out of donating through the site, but what you can do is you can go ahead and you can tell us how much you plan on giving to that program through the chat, and we'll count that towards the total. Barbara actually put that link, I believe, in the chat. So if you go on to the chat on Zoom, you can see link is, and go on there and just let us know in the chat, though, because if you go directly to it, we're not going to know and count towards our total. But if you go ahead and let us know, then we can add that in, and we can kind of put a final post on that Facebook site in the discussion saying this is how much we raised and this is how many people that gave. So appreciate all of you and the continuing share of that. All right, Zach. Zach Friedoff is a troubadour of peace, performing over 5,000 shows in his 20-year career. He's the executive director of the Big Love Network and the author of several books of poetry, meditation, and photography. Enjoy the musical stylings now of Zach.
Yay!
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm honored to be here and to share some songs with y'all. Holding on to what you got, a million little pieces of a broken heart, closed in pain, tried to hide. There are tears, there is light. There are sounds that will not fade, too many lives blown away. Names and dates, blood stains, through it all, we'll sing again. Ooh, ooh. Standing up, shaky legs, with a boy against the tank, closed in fear, anger, strain. Will we hear the song still play? Ooh, ooh. I sing for love, I sing it all. I sing for love in the cold, cold, cold. I sing for love, born of pain. I sing for love to lead overtake. So love and love I remain. Oh, love and love I remain. Screaming out, night full of smoke. The cut is deep and it takes its toll. We've blinded eyes far too long. Here I stand singing a different song. Thank you very much. It's called Love I Remain. And I'm going to do another one. It's one of my favorite songs to sing. It's called Manifest. We should manifest ourselves in exquisiteness every chance we get. There is pain, suffering to overcome. We must look within. In the night, how we give our love. We should manifest ourselves in exquisiteness every chance we get. We should manifest ourselves in exquisiteness every chance we get. I've seen angel wings been lifted up off of my knees. Every time what I see, the little love we can do amazing things. Change who we are. We know step to one course, and when the light comes shining in, we're free to be called love. We should manifest ourselves in exquisiteness every chance we get. We should manifest ourselves in exquisiteness every chance we get. And I say that I know that I'm not wrong when I gave all my love and I've gone. Oh, they'll say I was here and I put a little dent in that I made someone smile. They'll say I was here and I put a little dent in fear, and that I made someone smile.
Thank you. Where's Sunny? She alive?
I am.
Oh, good.
Sorry, I have a baby and kids and all of that. So we didn't want them to disturb us. So we're going to be, that's why our video's been off. We don't mean to be rude, but that's where we are.
That's fine.
4 kids in the house.
All right, we are nearing the end. We have an amazing duo at the end to end this great event with. So I'm gonna go ahead and introduce them. So we're going to do a speech as well as music together. So our musician is going to be India Joy Rush. She's a mama of 4. Her passion for music started with singing about the age of 3. She's played guitar since she was 13. A jack of all trades, she has pursued graphic design, computer animation, industrial design, mechanical engineering, woodworking, singing. She's now a tattoo artist, which I just got some work done here. And she even applied to be a police officer once. She grew up in the church, and her voice allowed her to travel the country singing. India Joy is an aspiring, thoughtful, and talented professional artist with a great passion for music and singing. She refuses to be unhappy. Her motto is, you must passionately pursue whatever your heart desires. Then our speaking portion, along with India, will be Sunny Matthews. Wah, wah. And India. Yeah. Sunny is a motivational speaker focusing on issues of diversity, inclusion, and anti-racism. She's a University of Akron School of Law graduate who focused on civil liberties. She earned her bachelor's from Guilford College, majoring in political science, philosophy, and African American studies. She was an active college student helping to start an anti-racism team at Guilford College, responsible for organizing citywide diversity inclusion events and developed coursework focusing on race and racism. After college, Ms. Matthews served as an AmeriCorps Vista, North Carolina campus Compact Multicultural Service Coordinator. Her focus was facilitating, organizing, and training students to work in multicultural communities. In 2016, Ms. Matthews co-founded Dimensions of Isms with Ginger Bakos. What started out as a 3-part workshop on diversity issues, racism, classism, sexism, became a grassroots organization. The vision for Dimensions of Isms is to bring awareness and progression to societal issues through training in corporate environments, church workshops, speaking engagements, and other civil and social organizations. Ms. Matthews continues to speak with various organizations throughout the United States. Please welcome India and Sunny.
I know it's weird. You've been hearing from me all night, but I want you to indulge me once more. So I have been inspired by all of the people I've come in contact with, many of you on this call, Barbara, Gwen, Angie, Zach, Big Love, Kathy. You guys have inspired me. And I think one of the reasons I've been so moved and so inspired because y'all, most of you, Morgan, most of you recognize that this isn't over. You recognize that we have work to do. You recognize that this is the beginning and not the end. And I am inspired by you. Y'all, I remember going to a watch party and watching the results 4 years ago. And I was laughing and drinking and thinking, this is gonna be great. We're gonna finish this. Hillary will win. I had my pantsuit on. I was ready. And then I just started seeing the states turn red and my heart broke. And I recognized that people in America were willing to overlook so much. They were willing to overlook racism, sexism. They were willing to overlook people who picked on folk who were different. They were willing to overlook he was not ready for the job we were giving him. He was auditioning and failing, and America still elected him. And I was heartbroken. I was devastated. I came home. I was at a watch party at a friend's house. I came home. I crawled into bed. My fiance said, I'm sorry. And I said, I just got to go to sleep. And I woke up the next day. I went home early. And I woke up the next day hoping it would be different. Hoping things would change because I left so early. And they didn't. And I vowed when I woke up the next morning, I'm going to hurt. I knew that. But I vowed I would get up. I would find my people and we would change this.
One day, when the glory comes, it'll be us. It'll be us. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Oh, one day.
Y'all, guess what? It's one day. It's one day. It's one day. We are here. We have arrived. We have arrived at the beginning. We have work to do, but we can celebrate this moment. We voted him out. We gave a definitive give back our people's house. We did that. Now, Ohio may not have shown up in the way we wanted it to. Georgia did. And that's why we are supporting Georgia to do it one more time. Because there is another people's house we need. There is another house we must take. It is time to vote them out. And Georgia can do this. Stacey Abrams has been doing this. And we, through you guys, have supported them by $3,300 raised during a pandemic when people aren't working in Ohio that's been hit hard. I am in awe of you. I am thankful for you. I see that you recognize we have work to do. And I can't wait for the day that Ohio turns blue, because then we will have more glory.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be us. It will be us. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Oh, one day.
Yo, one day is now. One day we show up. It's now. I am so proud of you. All of you who shared this event, all of you who showed up today, all of you who have been taken to the streets, all of you who have donated, knocked on doors. Every time we heard there was a battle to be had in America, people showed up and showed out. We donated, we voted, we showed up and showed out. And we will continue to do this work. Because we recognize that a democracy works when the people work it. Show up, show out. Join Crooked River Action. Show up, show out. Join the NAACP. Show up, and show out. Help Equality Ohio. Show up, show out. Participate in the big love we are sharing. I want you to recognize that our revolution starts today. I want you to recognize that we are who we have been waiting for. Y'all, I want you to recognize that Stacey didn't do this by herself, but she helped lead us here. And I will say this, Black women have been carrying the weight of this democracy for a long time. And we got to call it what it is. We got to say what it is. And so we need people to step up and challenge the folks to do better. They cannot keep voting because of their economic interests, especially when it's not true. They cannot be overlooking the way others are treating others. It is time for us to live up to the ideas that were set for us. We hold these truths, that all men are created equal, that all men are endowed with the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Y'all, this isn't the end. It's just the beginning. And I can't wait for us to reach our glory. I can't wait for us to reach that mountaintop. I can't wait for us to say it. To say that this country is not only run by the people house, it is run by the people.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Oh, one day, when the glory comes, it will be us. It will be us. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Oh, one day.
Thank you.
Awesome, just awesome. Thank you both so much. And thank you to everyone who came, who donated, who stuck around, who continues to do the work. In the chat, I put the link to Sunny's Facebook page for Dimensions of Isms. You can link there. if this is your first exposure to Sunny, you were in for an awesome treat. She is a most amazing speaker. And a most amazing teacher. I continue to learn from her every single time she and I interact. I also put the link to the Crooked River Action Facebook page and also to our email. We have, if you jot down crookedriveraction@gmail.com, we have a newsletter that comes out, and probably tomorrow night is the plan. Lame Duck in Ohio is going strong with some good bills and some bad bills. And as Gwen mentioned, the Ohio Fairness Act is one of the good bills that maybe people will finally promote. We were promoting it at Akron Pride in 2018 at our booth. So we're not going anywhere. You know, as Sunny said, we are still in the fight. We have 1,500 postcards being distributed for Georgia voters. We've connected with a couple of different campaigns there to collect these postcards. And the only thing that may slow us down a little in getting them out is that darn snowstorm that we're hearing about, but it will happen. We wrote thousands of postcards throughout and wrote letters throughout the pandemic. You know, we found a way to register voters at food banks during the summer, masks and all, on some of the hottest days of the year, because those were people who needed a little extra guidance to know how to vote by mail. Many had never done it before. So we keep finding a way, and we're not going away. Sunny, you're stuck with us for a while longer. But we do need more help. And those of you that are not on this call, that are not members, if you're in Summit County, we'd love to have you. And if you're not in Summit County, even just the calls to action on the newsletter can be useful to anybody in Ohio. So thank you so much for joining us this evening, for your generosity, your goodwill, your good spirit, and your persistence.
I just want to say one thing. I just want to thank you all for being here. I am in all of you. I also want to thank Sarah. She whenever I call, she is here. So I knew people would get tired of hearing me over and over. I knew they might get tired of hearing Barb. So I'm just grateful that she was letting us use her voice and to be here to support us. I just want to encourage people to get involved, join Crooked River Action. Reach out to me if you need anybody to uplift your group, to speak in, and I've been doing a lot of virtual events. My whole heart is in this, and I think everybody on this call, y'all, your whole heart is here. So I appreciate your heart.
Back at you. And Sarah, thank you also.
I always hear when you need me, here I am.
And so if anybody else wanted to say anything really quickly before we close the room, please unmute yourself and speak your words. You've got 30 seconds. Go ahead, Mr. Oh, she's muted. You got to unmute him, Barb. AIDD.
What do I do?
Unmute kid.
I don't need any. No, I'm sorry. I was saying goodbye.
Oh, okay. No worries. Did anybody else want to say anything? I just always like to leave space for anybody to say anything else. Good? All right. I think we're good, Barb.
I think we're good. Thank you.
We got this.
Thank you.
A lot of money raised for New Georgia Project. Woo!
Heck yeah.
Peace and blessings. Enjoy your holiday seasons.
Yep.
Watch that runoff.
Stay safe and stay healthy.
Stay safe and away from COVID.
Bye.